It's good to see you here, and thank you, Michael, for having us. I'm Maryann from FringeBacker, and we are actually a local Hong Kong crowdfunding platform and the world's first bilingual online crowdfunding platform. We have actually started last September. We have seen the success of crowdfunding in the US for a number of years, and then we started talking to people here in Hong Kong 2 years ago. And from all different organizations, as well as a lot of organizations have been very supportive to entrepreneurs and as well as art and creative talent here. And we see a very good demand in a crowdfunding platform that is bilingual. So it all got started last year, and the platform was launched in September. Before that, we were very happy that we were invited by United Nations UNESCO's RLCC program as one of their network partners to help sustain education in art and cultural projects as well as creative ones. So as many of you may be familiar with, crowdfunding is actually a pooling of funds from the people who have passion about your project. And these people, like Jay have mentioned just now, yes, a good number of them came from your own network or your extended network. It could have been from friends and families. But also, alongside with your project, especially in Hong Kong, we see that a lot of them have gained very, very good, significant media exposure as well. And after the first round of your family and friends coming to help the project, we also see a lot of public participation. And of course, in planning your campaign, your crowdfunding campaign, a lot of times it's very important to also think about your reward, and it's actually a way to see how you can engage your people or engage a supporter to feel interested and to feel a part of your project. So it's not just a souvenir, but it's in fact an interactive, creative way to craft a campaign to see how you can engage with these people and make them your supporter. And very often, these early supporters will become your very loyal customers or fan base as you go on. So based on Net Solutions report recently, crowdfunding has actually soared up to 2.7 billion last year, and I think it's estimated to almost double this amount this year in 2013. Yeah, and this is the program, the UNESCO program that I talked about just now. So the partnership with them has been very tremendously successful. We have actually introduced some of our projects to many different people, and also we have got inquiries and projects from a few different countries as well, because a lot of the consulates as well as embassies who are very interested in supporting creative projects, entrepreneurs, as well as art and cultural talents in Hong Kong as well as overseas have come to us. So here is a short summary of how to crowdfund your business or your project. First of all projects will have to think about what they want to crowdfund for, and they prepare a write-up on it. As I've mentioned just now, you will have to plan your rewards and how to engage your supporters. After that, simply submit your proposal to FringeBacker, and then go on to prepare your video. And after that, launch your project, execute your marketing plan, and people just simply come on and with very easy payment methods, the supporters can actually support your project immediately online. So here are a few selected projects I can share with you here today. David Wong, he's a trendsetter, he's a movie director now. He has successfully raised $85,400 Hong Kong. Actually, this is his first movie. He planned to, he actually wanted to shoot it on iPhone. And what's very interesting about this project is that he actually came up with a digital appearance in his movie for all his fans. And it was very well received. Just that particular item alone has raised more than 2/3 of his funds. Friends and friends of friends were very happy to engage in that movie in such a way with the digital appearance, because we've seen comments on his Facebook that have shared with us, comments that were sent to his on WhatsApp and etc., that all his friends were really hyped up having to be able to appear in his movie in a digital way, because it's very easy for them. They just simply sent him a photo, sent him and look out for his movie to see how they were presented in it. So all his friends were really excited to see how they can actually engage in this movie in a surprise way. And these are some of the media coverage that he has gained after launching his crowdfunding projects. And it was also very encouraging for him. He found it very exciting. Supporters like his idea and show their support. And the next one that we see here, she's actually a member of the Hong Kong equestrian team for Olympics 5 years ago. And then after the Olympics, she started full-time training on her own, and she came on to us to do a round of funding after she actually recovered from a very major accident when she fell off her horses 2 years ago. So she recovered dramatically, because the doctor actually thought she couldn't walk anymore. But in reality, she was very determined to go back on her horses, and she recovered. And now she's again training in Denmark full-time, and she came on to us because she is originally from Hong Kong, although she's been based in Denmark for the last 5 years. She came on to do a campaign, and she's raised up to now $377,000. And these are some of the media coverages. She's got some very good full-page coverage on major newspapers, as well as South China Morning Post. And alright, this one is our inaugural projects. In fact, this group of boys, or a male a cappella group, who has won a number of worldwide global awards. They were here for an Asia tour last September, and in fact they came to us way before we were launched through referral, because they planned that Asia 2 months ago, and months before they came, and they were looking out for a bilingual platform, and they couldn't find it anywhere on earth. So they were planning actually their performances with some of the university here, and they were being referred to us because apparently the professors that were working with them happened to know that we were developing a bilingual platform. So this boys from King's College London has become our inaugural projects, and they were quite successful in raising funds after their tour, reaching out to all those people that they have actually met with in Hong Kong and Singapore, as well as societies and schools and all these places that they have visited. So they went back, and on their way back, they started doing this campaign, coming up with unique rewards, such as a Skype session with some of these universities, as well as with the organization, the for example, the Acapella Society of Hong Kong and equivalent people in Singapore as well. So they successfully raised 96,000 Hong Kong dollars. And I think they're coming back this year. So this is the tour that they did to promote their project as well as their tour in Hong Kong. And some of the news coverages. And this one here is an upcycling designer, a graduate from PolyU. She came on. She's upcycling in leather, and she came on to do to crowdfund for her exhibition. And here again is some coverage of her in the local press. This young lady was her news coverage was just amazing. I think she has been covered by almost 30 different magazines and newspapers in Hong Kong during and after her crowdfunding success. The last one here we have is a local artist. He's been drawing about Hong Kong. And again, he got very good coverage on South China Morning Post about his initiative. And he raised also 25,000 Hong Kong dollars. So in summary, here are some benefits of crowdfunding. People gain access, of course, access to capital, hedging the risk because you get to interact with your audience or customers before you actually go into full production. It's a very good marketing tool as well because, as I think Jay has mentioned just now, for movies or short films, maybe it's not the best tool to crowdfund for everything, but it's definitely a very useful tool to crowdfund for as part of your funding needs, especially nearer to the product being launched. So it helps prove your concept as well. And also a brainstorming of ideas because it's a very interactive platform and many times project owners actually get a chance to interact with the supporters and see what they think about their whole project. And all the supporters are in fact prospective customers. And it's much easier than traditional funding. As you can see just now, a lot of them have gained very good PR exposure, but all the smaller projects were unable to gain, if not on a platform like this, on their own. That gives you a chance to pre-sell. And more important of all, it's free upfront, and platform usually just charges a few % on success basis. So the whole campaign is literally free for you to come up with. So thank you everyone for sharing with me today.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for FringeBacker being here. Just stay on the stage, it's fine. Just stay with you. And they brought us these amazing little decks, rubber decks, so you can grab one outside and do a photo with them if you like, if you're rich. And now we have a little bit of discussion about the topics that Maryann was talking about, as well as Michael will talk a little bit about how can you finance your project by adapting it into a TV series, so from web series to a TV series. And Herwig will tell us a little bit about the situation in all Europe. So please come to the stage.
Hello? Okay. I have a, like Jay was saying, Jay Ferguson, I have a traditional media background. In the States, I'm a television producer and writer for a lot of situation comedies, sitcoms, few dramas, but mainly sitcoms for the last 18 years. And that's how I make a living. That's my day job. So from that day job, some of the assistants, the younger people who were working with me on the show, I noticed that they were always on their computers, doing when we would walk up, they would hide it. And they would hide it. One day I said, "Hey, what are you hiding? What is that?" They said, "Oh, it's a web series." And that was my introduction to web series, sort of this underground, I call it the underground movement because it's like something that you don't see. Like in Los Angeles immigration, there's a lot of people who they don't count as citizens who are from Mexico, for example. The city is bigger than they say because a lot of these people are not documented. It's like underground, and so there's a movement to make them legal so they don't have to hide that kind of thing. Well, the web series is very similar to something like rap music, hip-hop music 25 years ago when it was, they didn't play it on the radio in the States. You had to go to the beach or go to a club and you would hear these people rapping and you said, what are they saying? And they're talking so fast. Hip hop, hip, what the hell is that? And now rap music is hip hop is mainstream. It's mainstream as rock and roll and jazz and all the other music. And that's how web series is. It's very underground still. So I said I spent 1 year, Marco, just watching web series that were available. I watched a bunch of different web series, and then I came up with my own idea, which is called Whee, which I think I have it passed around. Two girls who get together every day, two pretty girls get together and talk about people, just talk. And I shot it at my house, and it was a lot of fun. I created my own channel, and I put some on YouTube. There's some on YouTube as well. And but what happens is, and I have an example of it here from our panelists if they haven't seen it. And so what happened, because I come out of a traditional TV and film background, in television and in film, if you create a TV show, if you create a movie, it just doesn't stay in that arena. And a lot of times, if you notice, movies become television shows. Television shows become plays on Broadway. They become video games. They don't just see it as isolated in one area. And but what happens in web series, because it's still new, is that a lot of people that create web series, they only see it as being just for the internet. When very soon these shows they won't be just for the internet. They're going to be on television and various platforms. And one thing I stress at my festival, Marco knows because he was there, Jean-Michel knows this, is to look at the web series beyond just this small thing that is on the internet, this small show that you can only watch on the internet. We have to see it as something beyond just itself. Hey, this could be a movie. This can be a television show. This can be a play. This can be a video game. Many of the things that some of the things that Jay was saying. But not just, let me make this in such a way where I can make it easy for myself and just connect it. Okay, let me take this 3 minutes with this 3 minutes with this 3 minutes. And you can do, that's one way, you can do it that way as well. But you also have to look at it as a completely different animal. If you go to the theater and watch a play, and someone says, oh, this play would make a great movie, they don't film the play. They don't go and get a camera and say, let me film the play and take it to the theater, and let me now charge people to come and watch it in the theater, because it's still a play. It doesn't make it a movie. You just filmed it. You have to repurpose it. You have to adapt it for film. Open the play up. Maybe the play has only 2 characters. Or the movie is going to have more. It has to be more visual. It can't just be people talking on stage. Remember, movies are about showing and not telling as much. And the same thing with television. There are different rules for television. So if you take that play and if you adapt it as a television show, you have to adapt, you have to repurpose the play within the confines of what makes a television comedy or a drama, depending on what it is. The same thing with a video game. You have to repurpose it. So as a web series, we have to do the same thing. And so I use myself, because I have a background, I'm in the reverse. Many people who are in web series, a lot of them are trying to break into television or film. In my case, it's the reverse. I already work in film and television, and I'm getting into web series, so I already have been trained on how to do that. So what I did is I took my web series, I think I have the card there, the web series that I think is past this card, I took that and repurposed it, reimagined it as a television series with character. This show only has 3 characters in the whole 12 episodes, only 3 people. But if you look here, this is the television series which I raised money last fall. I wrote 9 episodes of what I imagined as the TV series based on the web series, and used the web series as an example to the investors, mainly some of whom I knew, some of whom I did not know, and raised some funds to make the TV series, which we're in post-production right now, and it will be finished at the end of this month, and we begin to shop it to buyers. So this is another way. This is another way to. This is another way that we can profit from our web series, the same way the other mediums do it. We shouldn't see ourselves as less. Because you're smaller doesn't mean you're less than, just because you're smaller. You know, if you're a Christian, you know, David was smaller than Goliath, but he beat him. So we have to look at ourselves as the content is still valuable, even if it's shorter. It still has a big value, and there are other ways to profit, because one of the things that's hurting the industry right now is it's natural. This is a new business. It's still very new. And until the masses begin to consume more web series, begin to watch it, it becomes more of a regular thing to watch, to pull out your phone or your iPad and watch the latest episode of Squatter Town, or some of the other web series that are out there, where you watch it the way you watch television, or you watch a movie or go to a play. It's going to be more difficult to make money. It has to have a bigger saturation among the consumers. And that's going to happen. It just takes time. You know? Even cable. But I remember when cable television, they used to say, "Oh, who's going to watch cable? Why would you pay to watch something that you can watch for free? Television is free. Why would someone pay to watch HBO or Showtime or something?" And now it's $1 billion business. So there are always those people. Just like now, there are a lot of people that say, "Oh, there's no money in this. Oh, this is." Even I just read an article today about YouTube. A lot of YouTube partners are very unhappy because YouTube is making so much money, and they feel like they're not benefiting from the business. Maker Studios, one of the biggest social media producers in the world, they just announced that they're going to start their own version of YouTube so they can make more money. And so YouTube right now is the biggest show in town. In some way, it's the biggest platform for web series and new media. But that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. And I'm glad that I'm glad they have competition. I'm glad some people are getting restless and saying, "Let me go and do my own thing. Let me challenge YouTube." Because they can, as long as they're the only one, then you have to take what they give you. What is your choice? What is your alternative? So hopefully somebody can come along and give a little more, and then someone else comes and gives a little more. But I really strongly believe that we have to also consider adaptation. When we're making a web series, we have to think about the film, think about the TV show, think about the play, think about the book, think about the video game, just like the other mediums do. Has anyone seen a movie called Catch Me If You Can? Remember that film? With that Leonardo DiCaprio. He was an airplane pilot, a doctor, he was a nurse, he was this, you know, he was a con man, big con man, international con man. That movie was based on a book in 1978. It was based on a book. The book became a movie, and now the movie has become a Broadway play. It's in Broadway. It's touring all over America and different parts of the world. When we were in Los Angeles at the LA Webfest in the hotel, they had an advertisement to go and see the play of Catch Me If You Can. The play, the movie, the book. And so web series, we have to take ourselves seriously like that, and we have to see that this thing can profit. Even if you don't profit, maybe because web series is still a emerging industry. Well, film is not. Film is established. TV is established. You can repurpose and make money, and then they have to. If they make the movie, they have to first buy the web series, because the movie, just like if they make a movie based on a book, they have to first secure the book. The author makes a lot of money, because they have to secure the rights to the source material, and then make the movie, or then make the TV show. So we have to think in those terms, and that's one thing that as you know, Mark, I'm pushing.
I've seen your web series, and you also showed at LA a little sneak peek of the TV series.
Okay.
And yeah, and both for me, when I looked at first, there was basically no connection at all whatsoever. Right? So maybe you can talk a little bit about how far does adaptation have to go, not just copy something into a bigger format and make it just blow it up, but I mean, how far do you have to be willing to change character situations or story setups?
You know, adaptation, if you study the history of adaptation, it can be anything you want. For example, sometimes they make an adaptation like Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera, everybody knows the play is the biggest play in history. That play has generated over $5 billion. It is the most successful theatrical production. There's no movie, Titanic, Avatar, no movie is bigger than Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera is the biggest theatrical production in history. The play has made a bunch of money. It's based on a book. And they made the movie a few years ago. The movie is very faithful to the play. I think the producer put money, Cameron McIntosh, who became very wealthy from making the play. He put a lot. He was one of the producers, so he was very faithful to the play. And unfortunately, the movie did okay, but it was a great, good-looking movie. But a lot of times with adaptation, you don't have to stay faithful to the source material. Anyone who is anyone here a big reader of books? Anyone like to read books? If you like to read books, one of the most heartbreaking things is when you see your book turn into a movie, right? Because they throw out so many things. What happened to Desdemona? Where's John? And what happened to this story? And they throw things out. They blend characters. They blend storylines because you cannot. If you take the book and film it like a movie, we'll be sitting here for 10 hours watching the movie. You have to pick and choose what is going to work for film. So every time you approach a new medium, television, film, theater, video game, you have the license. Either if it is you making the adaptation, or if it's a studio network who buys it from you, they buy it from you, and they basically are paying you to get out of the way. Get out of the way. Unless you know how to do this, we'll bring in the engineers who know how to make television, who know how to make movies, who know how to make Broadway shows, and we'll take your source material, your book or your web series, and we will re-engineer it for that medium. So the answer is whatever you feel works, because you have to be, I know for myself, when I do it, when I first, I wrote a play years ago, and I took the play and turned the play into a movie, and when I was originally doing the adaptation, I had my laptop here, I had my play here, and I was looking at the play, and I was, basically just taking the play and putting the play in a script form, movie script form. And about a few days into it, I realized all I'm doing is recopying the play into the movie form. Well, that's not a movie. All I'm doing is not a movie. If I'm going to make the movie, I have to put the play aside. I picked up my play and I said, I will always love you. Put it aside. And I had to, keeping the same story, I had to reimagine how would this play work as a film, so it is visual. And it meant making some changes. The number one change, especially in a web series like in a play, is you have to open up the world. My show, for example, Whee, is two girls who sit around and they just meet for lunch every day. That's the show. And they talk, and then the guy is a servant. Well, what is the backstory of each girl? For example, one girl works, she's a professional, she's a banker. The other girl is wealthy, she doesn't work, her husband is a professional basketball player. And she has nothing to do, really. And the other one is her friend, he works for them, he's a chef. Well, then that's the web series. In the TV series, we see the guy. If you look at the postcard, Basketball Wife, you see the husband. You don't see the husband in the web series. Now, you hear about the husband, John. Now you see the husband in the show. You see the wife. The friend that you saw on the postcard, the one who was the fair one, who was the accountant, she now works for them. She is their accountant. The other one, the guy who's on the show, on the cool postcard, he was the best friend who lived in the guest house, who was out of work chef. He's now the uncle. Because I cast the characters younger, much younger in the TV show. He's the uncle who is a chef, who works for them, so that they can stay healthy and enjoy their money. And the other friend is there to help them make sure that they don't lose their money by watching their money, where the money goes. And then there are other characters, the neighbors, the parents. you know, his parents, her parents, colleagues of the husband, of the wife, people that you don't even hear about in the web series. But again, if you're going to do television, you can't just have a television show with two people. You have to open up the, as we say, open up that world. So if you don't have the skill to do it, if you don't have that background and you're not interested in learning it, you can always bring in, what Hollywood will do is they will bring in experienced television writers who will then look at your web series or your book and take what is necessary to make it work for television. And if there's characters that don't exist in the web series, you create them. You have to create them so that it works for that world. The same thing for a movie, the same thing for a play. Each medium is different. And fortunately, I have experience, professional experience in all three before coming to web series. But you have to do that to make it work. Otherwise, if you just, again, the best example is if you just videotape a play and you put it on television, that does not make it TV. It makes it a play that is on television. It doesn't change it. You have to readjust like with anything else. And we have to think, you know, I really feel strongly that web series makers have to think that way if we're going to be competitive and break out and stop seeing ourselves as I'm so small, I have nothing, I have no value, I'm this little guy, I'm in the corner here. No, we're bigger than that because it's content. The content is valuable, the idea. A small idea can lead to big things. Some movies are based on a song, American Pie, you know, a thin line between love and hate. Hotel California. You take the storyline of the song, right? You make a movie out of it. Same thing.
You might have copyright issues.
Well, yeah, you get the copyright. Man. They're very happy. Everybody's happy to. If you write a song and someone says, "Hey, I have an idea based on your song. Let me give you small money, and when the movie gets made, I'll give you more money." Why not? You don't have to do anything. You're at home sleeping, and the money is in your bank, coming in your bank through PayPal or whatever.
Okay, let me jump to Herwig. He's based out of Berlin, and he happens to be in Hong Kong, actually right now, right during the festival. So he reached out and said he wants to come on, and I'm very happy you're here today. Can you give us a little introduction before I jump on you with some questions?
Sure. So my name is Herwig Kopp. I'm based in Berlin. Founded a transmedia consultancy strategy company in Berlin 2 years ago. Already quite early even there. Being very much interested in what is normal and what may become normal in the future. What you were mentioning and also referring to, and we all are hoping and seeing also now in birth, is a world where these kind of formats are becoming more and more normal. I named my firm NORmALUM.com. So NORmALUM refers either to normality. What is it? I think it's a social construct which is changing. There is not such a thing like normality out there. We are forging it, we are constructing it, and there is malum in it. Malum is in Latin either the evil, not the good things, and also the apple. So in those kind of franchises, in some of them, which we know for not 15 or 30 years, but maybe 2,000 years, in some religion, kind of apple is the start of sin, but also the start of knowledge. So to combine those things made some of the biggest transmedia experiences we know nowadays possible, namely the Christian religion, for example, boasting things like books, life events, songs, and a lot of other things we all know about. And it's a powerful thing you can do, but it's not really new. Maybe the name is new, and maybe the technology changes. But what we are seeing now is the opportunity to combine all those different kind of media in a coherent, in a way to let people also participate in these kind of stories, these so-called story worlds. And I help people developing stories, might it be fiction or non-fiction, to build these kind of story worlds so that they become story world architects. If you're not a good architect, what happens might be that when the next wind comes or just over time your building will crumble and kill the people inside of it. So your audience might just vanish. If you build it well, it might be sustainable. So it's necessary to find out which are the pillars of this kind of new businesses. It might also change, but to build something with a roof so people can live in it and also have fun and feel comfortable with this as well. So knowing about those kind of new formats here boasted as Webseries, as part of a bigger story world architecture, is very much what we all, the audience, should pay attention to, and also bring into the world as a knowledge, as a kind of invitation, as an apple maybe, to make people happy with and entertain them, and show, so that we show them how this might work, how this might be a new kind of way of having fun, knowing new kind of stories, and happily participate. Maybe also being authors in such story worlds and helping create them, not just backing them up, also building those stories together with the ones. So as an introduction, this shortly for a background maybe, because this was getting into general theme. I'm coming as from new media studies, and also from the academic research as a brain scientist. So I'm combining already different aspects in an interdisciplinary way to find out why these things are so compelling to us. And there are a lot of reasons why this is very natural, even though it doesn't feel natural now. But this is how we think and perceive the world. In fragments, in different kind of parts, we then combine in ourselves to make up this kind of story so that we understand what we are seeing all around us.
Okay, Michael was talking about in North America, most web series trying to do an adaptation into a TV series as a sort of business model. Where do you see the trend in Europe right now? With not just with web series, maybe even a bit broader.
I think there is not such a thing anymore than a territory. Even though the big producers and the old kind of industry wants to make us believe it. But there's a but attached to it. There is, of course, a difference in how to finance your stuff if you're based somewhere in particular. So I would compare Europe more to Canada than to the rest of the world, because we have a subsidiary system which helps normally the people who produce those things I would call cultural stimuli. It might be anything, a book, a game, a web series, and if you have an idea like that, you can get funding to develop it and also produce it. And normally this makes people into not caring so much about the audience. They don't ask beforehand, who's gonna watch it. But, and there's a second part to it, of course this is then not distributed online. So there are no boundaries for the internet, more or less. People from all over the world, just maybe due to a language barrier, might perceive it, might be part of it. So in this kind of sense, there is no Europe. But how to get things online in a particular production value, there is a difference still. Even though there are ideas to build incubators around it and so on, this all moves a little bit slower than the production people and the writers and directors wanted to move. But most of the content I'm aware of concerning Europe comes still through the classical channels, or is really underground, trying to get a foothold into branding, which is often not so good for storytelling. Some of the better storytelling examples are being done through heavy partnership or usual kind of production and co-production schemes, like for example the Spiral. One of the examples being out there as 6 countries European co-production, started last December. It was not just an online thing, you could see it online as well, but it is a classic TV broadcasting scheme, but it was in parallel in 6 countries, in synchronous broadcast, which was unprecedented, so it was a kind of new thing to do. With a heavy online component as well, tied in with the story of an art taste. So people could follow what is happening online with the stolen artworks, and would watch the TV series and would go online to help and participate in the story. So those two kind of bigger areas where are I think out there where things are emerging, either totally amateur to professional, but then with an independent approach, or an ongoing, heavily based in arte, usually production scheme, which is more into co-production, and there are not so many out there so far, unfortunately, even though it is an emerging field.
Usually the drivers in Europe for transmedia are TV stations, like RT or BBC.
CDF even.
You were busy touring Asia in the last 3 weeks. What were your experiences? Where do you see like overlapping points with Europe, or maybe even something totally different, or some sort of new ideas?
I think what might happen here, or what I see, is that I guess there's a lot of not just potential. There are people already doing a lot of things in the so-called Asia. Also, Asia doesn't exist in my sense. There are productions who want to break through and reach their audience, of course, and there are people who produce high-quality content. It's not just starting. There are people already embracing these formats. It's just a matter of how daring they are and how much kind of breadth they have to build up their own kind of audience. I was also yesterday concerned with putting a question out. If you are either wanting to stay independent or you search for partners. On the long run, I think that the potential for building up an audience is extraordinary in Asia, and I'm not just talking about China mainland. It's just that so much of an online dynamic is being unleashed here, and more because it's very much new, and more than in Europe, where people are a little bit kind of settled down and don't want to make so much choices anymore, or a little bit kind of fed up with all those things people want from them as an audience. Here it might be a lot quicker and a lot bigger if you're producing well-told stories. This is the baseline, and this will be the only message I probably have. Produce good stories and you will have success. It might take a time, but if you go this kind of down the road and you're not compromising too much, then it will be successful. Probably more likely here than Europe, even though, again, those territories I think are kind of outdated.
All right, let's cycle back to crowd sponsoring. We've heard already a lot, and in North America, most of the web series trying to go the crowd sponsoring way, and there are actually some. People trying out what are best practice models. I just saw a web series from Sony. He just released a new web series, and what he did was basically he was releasing 16 minutes as a series premiere. He already shot the whole season, and now he started a crowd-sponsoring campaign, basically to refinance the budget that he already spent on it. Where do you see, especially in Asia, where do you see what is the trend? How do filmmakers or web series makers use crowd-sponsoring?
I think it's quite similar. In fact, crowdfunding started in the US and is very replicable. And is, in fact, we see a lot of success in the movie, in documentary. It depends on how or when. In fact, it helps a lot if the movie or the director has already got track record, have something to show, and that is how you actually engage through crowdfunding to a larger audience. With a campaign, and how they actually gain media exposure. So it coupled with all those planning as well as reaching out, and if everything works well together, it's often quite successful. And I see that happening actually in Hong Kong as well. One of the movie director who came on, he didn't have all the track records that I mentioned just now, but yet he tried to discuss when he came with a proposal, and then he started thinking out how he can actually think of more creative way. The beauty actually of crowdfunding is an open platform, and the creativity is not just on the end product or the services that you offer, but also through how you create a very creative campaign to engage the people, to build the image for yourself as being a creator of the product. How you build an image for yourself, how you want to engage with people and make people feel a part of it. Because a lot of times people like to be a part of a production. They probably have a dream. They have also their love and their passion for movies. But not a lot of times they can develop their career in that particular industry, although how much they like it. Just like men like cars, and you're probably really happy to be involved with a project. But it's just that how you actually position yourself, how you think of ways to engage people in a way that you think would work for you, and get these people involved. And many a times, these supporters that you have actually attracted to come on your program or your campaign will turn out to be very loyal fan base. These are advocates of your projects because they feel a part of it.
So can you, as a young producer, young filmmaker who has no track record and no audience, could you use crowd-sponsoring as building an audience base?
Yes. In fact, for example, the Dave Wong is a very new director, although he has been in media and fashion for a long time. He wanted to branch out and do a movie. So we spoke to him to discuss about his, there are always weaknesses and strengths in that sense. And he came up with some of the rewards, and he just tried and error, and he said, let's try this out. And he had that digital appearance where all his fans or supporters would just send him a digital photo, and he'll try to see how he can place it in the movie. And these people were, they just were really happy and excited to take up that support him and take up that reward and see what kind of surprise it turns out to be. So he was very successful in that sense in engaging people to look up for a surprise. So he did not, sell really hard on how good quality the production is because he's an amateur.
I want to answer something
Maryann
said. A lot of times when people are investing, whether it's crowdfunding or investment, because if you seek out investors privately, it's also like crowdfunding in a private way. People are not really, even if you have the greatest project, a lot of times they may like the project, but if they're not in the business, they say, well, I don't really know if this is a good idea or not, but I know you, or I believe in you, and I'm giving this. I'm giving this money because I believe in you. I found that they're investing in the person. So if they like you, if they believe in you, then, and I guess this must work on a higher level, someone like Steven Spielberg, because he has the track record, but there are people that believe in Steven Spielberg and who love his work and love him. And so, okay, I trust you, Steven, that you're going to make something great, that kind of thing. But I noticed that the same thing. They're investing in the individual.
Yes, it's similar, but before you actually build up that reputation, as Steven does, there are some people who are newer into the creation or amateurs, who are probably people like you. You're actually a professional in some areas, and you're branching out into a new territory. In that sense, either you land onto your track record, or if you don't, then there are also other ways, because crowdfunding, an open platform, can be so fun and creative. So you see what you can maximize with. So in that sense of David's project, he actually played up a surprise factor. He have chosen not to emphasize on how good quality the whole thing is. He played it up as a surprise on something that he's eager to try out. And there are many people who might share the same vision, who might think trying out something new is a great idea. So it's again, yes, trust in the person, Because of course he have got some good experience. It's not like a young student not knowing where he's heading to, but he have got some good reputation in his own professional, with good sense in fashion, and he have got some media contacts as well. So he's somebody who knows what he's doing, but he's eager to try something new. And there are always people who supports that idea, but it's just how you actually engages with them and make them feel a part of the project.
May I add that I think that's the most important factor in this might not be your celebrity status, how many fans you already kind of raised around you or sustained, but it's moreover your own personal story which you want to tell. So not just the quality you kind of promise, but where does it come from which kind of passion of yourself might it stem from, so that people would understand why you do this project and then trust that you deliver, of course, as well, but that they really kind of emotionally bond with what you want to tell. That also comes from a background in helping writer-directors developing their stories in a multi-platform way, but also supporting them in their pitches on the multi-platform transmedia side. And even with people who then, as producers, come in and help them with their kind of money and skills, the most important factor is not how great your story pitch might be itself, or how much kind of films you have done before, because this might be now a screw-up. This might be a bad story. This might be now the worst Steven Spielberg movie ever being told. And there are some in there where people were not happy with Steven, what he delivered. But the most important thing is if they believe you that this story is now something important to tell, and if you're burning for it, then they will buy you and your story. If you can make that happen, you can go out there with nothing in your backpack, with only your burning heart, and it might be the most important thing you have to sell, and your story, of course, and connected to it. But don't be disencouraged by all the big names. I think this is where it starts, and it should always start with this, however big you are.
All right, then let's wrap it up here. If there are any questions. Yeah.
Question from Maryann. You mentioned one of your slides was about reward your backers. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh yes, in fact, the rewarding of a backer, as just now we have actually taken the movie as an example. In fact, on crowdfunding, it's really about how you engage people and what you think, how you can get them involved in in supporting the project, an early adopter, how you actually attract them on the program. Because even though if you're going to pre-sale, even though or you might be actually seeking support into the production, into helping with the costs, and how you actually plan your rewards around that, and how that helps actually your promotion. So it's about developing a reward for the support that you get and how you engage them in supporting you.
Actually, I think that translates to a much broader level on our media creation.
Yes.
I was just in Singapore, and they were talking about about incentivize your projects.
Yes.
So always find certain points that provide incentives for your audience to keep them watching, to keep
Yes.
them be engaged in the story, in the project.
Yes, like for example, the Hong Kong question. She was in the Olympic team representing Hong Kong, and after that, this young lady was very passionate about her sport, and she went on full-time training. With some, of course, she had got some funding from the Jockey Club, but she also took out a lot of family money into full-time training. And after her accident, she actually dramatically recovered. It was a miracle, in fact, all on its own. And then she came back, and she wanted to seek for funding, as well as she wanted to share a part of her sports life with the people. So there on, a lot of the supporters came on to support her project without asking for any reward, because they see her passion in it and they see what she has to offer. Although what she has to offer is perhaps a more experienced kind of thing, to experience her training with her. She takes photos of herself training, of herself winning races, and she put that into maybe a transdisciplinary. She put them into a USB card, and she put them into like a photo book, and she put together framed still pictures of herself signed, things like that she would like to share with her supporters. It's not that particular photo is worth how much money. It's about the experience, about people who actually might share in her passion, or admire her determination or her own determination in recovering so that she can continue in her own sports. So there are all many different ways, but also we see this as a starting point of how she actually come up with a creative project to try and engage her supporter in supporting her. And also from there on, we can see her, this would be really just a starting point for her. We can see her developing her career in this. We can see her growing into something bigger. We can see her, like she's probably been thinking about coming with a photo book or a story on herself, a bio that she's going to write on. So it's really, it's just a part of something bigger.
So the funding is not like what people give you, it's actually, they see it as an investment.
Oh no, it's not an investment in terms of an equity for a financial return or in terms of an equity in the project, but it's a support that people give her by seeing how the project comes across.
All right, someone else? Yeah, behind you. Oh.
I would like to ask Michael, because he was talking about channels on YouTube or some studios are moving away from YouTube. What do you think is the reason for this?
It's funny how, have you ever sat in a room and someone's talking and you don't say anything, but in your mind you think something, and then somebody else says it, you say, oh, man, I should have spoken up. YouTube, I've been saying to myself, wondering if the YouTube model is fair to the, I've questioned it myself. And so, because the value, millions of hits, which drives the activates people, I think the CEO of YouTube, I think she made like, is it $30 million US dollars in 6 months? The new CEO. I mean, they're making a bunch of money, billions, but what they give, I think Jay was saying for every million views, you get $1,000. I mean, like he was saying, if that was television, you'd be wealthy. You're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Because
And so to hear that these people are unhappy, Maker Studios broke away. They're looking for an alternative platform to YouTube, which is how Hulu started. It's a good thing. You need competition because competition keeps people honest, and you get a better deal, and it gives you a choice. And I think it's good that they're, it's one thing to say I'm unhappy. It's another thing to go and do your own thing and try to compete.
it's a good question because, like you were saying, because they move away because they make too less money.
Right.
So what I think is like, if you watch YouTube videos, there are some clever and some not so clever because they trust on YouTube that they are doing for them like the monetization. And I think at the moment the deal is like YouTube is taking like 45%.
Yes.
And the thing is online advertising.
I think it's more than 45%.
Or you get 45 and they
You
get
get 45, they
yes.
get 60.
But what is the reason is they are owning your audience.
Yes.
And so, but they are also providing you the audience. So what I feel interesting in the future when they will go away, does the audience move with them? Is the audience so loyal? Because I go on YouTube, I have subscribed to some channels, and if I see them, I click them. But I would not go to each destination side on their own, honestly.
Well, but I think you should still have your own channel. It's almost like if you work for someone, you should still have your own business, something you do on the side just in case, because they can always take that job from you. And you're right, you're building YouTube just like Facebook. Everything is on Facebook, you say, I don't want to spend money to have my own website. Okay, well then you give Facebook all your traffic. But I think you should have both. You should have a website, and Maker's going to pretty much have their own website now, and try to see if they can, because I think they're going to, those guys get hundreds of millions of hits. I mean, they're going to follow them. YouTube is still there, but you should have and it's something that, to me, it goes back to the value of doing your own thing, having your own. And even I want to say something about crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is great, but a lot of web series are made without crowdfunding. A lot of them are made with just people working, from their own pocket or second job or whatever. Because what happens is sometimes, if you just depend on crowdfunding, to me, it's back to the old model of television and film and even theater. Oh, I have a great idea, but I won't do anything if I have to go in my own pocket. Let me depend on someone else to give me so I can get my vision out. And I think, the web series, one of the beauties of web series that I love is that you have, I don't care how old you are, young, old, whatever, you can do it. It's the economic model is such that you can do it yourself. Okay, you don't have Mortal Kombat money. If you saw Mortal Kombat, it's incredible. They've got billion and a half dollars to do that. You don't have to have $1 million or $100,000 or even $10,000 to create something that's good. If you have a good story, as Herwig was saying, a good story, and you keep it simple, and you start from there. You start and then you build, and as you build, your budget, gets bigger, you can crowdfund, etc. But don't just wait on crowdfunding campaign. Okay, I crowdfunded, nobody wants to finance me. This idea sucks. I'm gonna go back and selling ice cream. No, get your idea out there, man. Don't wait, create, don't wait, make it happen. Otherwise don't let someone else tell you, okay, you can do it. If you really want to do it, you make it happen, you do it. Use your own money. Go to your mother, your uncle, or your aunt, use your friends. A lot of people will work for free. It's not about money. It's about your vision and your drive and how willing you are to bring people together. Most people, for the first one, will do it for free. If they like you, if they believe in you, then you build for them. So, just like we're doing at these festivals, It's not, I know Marco has millions of dollars that he has upstairs, but this is starting, you start where you are and you build. So the same with myself, Jean-Michel.
Let me throw in some startup terms, because actually we are branching in that area quite a lot right now. You're doing a prototype, you're kicking it out there, and then you see whether people like it or not. When they like it, then you build up on that. It's like you were saying. And then along the way you just pivot. You just see where's my audience, where they're liking it, and then it's the lean way. It's like we are running a lean startup always. I just want to throw in these words. Okay, thanks a lot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, something. One last remark, probably. I totally agree that it is about being confident. It is about using all the tools available. Your burning heart, your good story, maybe crowdfunding, maybe crowdsourcing, maybe your friends, fools, family, the famous 3F, maybe a bank loan, whatever, to make your vision palpable and to bring it out there, to expose it to the harsh reality of an audience out there. Maybe also thinking in first place about the audience. But what is most important in the beginning is that you take yourself and your idea seriously and then test it. So let's take ourselves web seriously.
Okay, thanks a lot. And that concludes our web series panel.